Here we go. Hi, this is Eric Strumples. Welcome to Control Talk, now your smart buildings video cast and podcast for the week ending May 10th, Mother's Day. And you're listening to episode 362. Take three.
All right.
Welcome to episode 362, Control Talk, now your smart buildings video cast and podcast for the week ending May 10th, 2020. Today is Mother's Day, so happy Mother's Day to all you mothers out there. And for all our listeners, remember, all your mom, remember, get your wife a Mother's Day present. If you listen to this, if you're listening to this, it might be too late. So if you forgot Mother's Day, my condolences are with you. But hey, we got a great show this week. But what would a great show be without the man, the myth, the legend, the one, the only, Kenny Smyers, the control man, mother-loving man from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kenny, welcome to the show, Big Dog.
Way to work it in there, Eric. Thank you very much. It's a nice chilly. I think we had snow on the ground, so we think we're.
We got snow, man. It's cold down here too.
We had a low of 22 degrees. I think we set records, but yeah. So a lot of people had to cover their flowers, and it's going to be crisp.
But wait a second, man. If this is, because I'd heard one of the silver linings in COVID-19 is that, man, it's really cleared the environment up, right? So if this is cleaning the environment up, and it's going to be snowing in May, maybe we need to rethink these things. Maybe people need to get back in their cars and start polluting the air a little bit more.
Well, yeah, I doubt that we'll have a direct. The way I remember, I had a geology class back freshman year of college, and I still remember about the big masses of weather, the pressure, the equatorial center and the Arctic and Antarctic center, and how those masses of cold air and warm air crash into each other and create the low pressure, high pressure, and basically our weather. And same thing happens with the ocean currents. But we think that our weather's shifting. We're getting Canada's weather. We used to get very nice wet. May used to be the best time of the year because it wasn't too hot yet. Everything was blooming and everything was pretty. Grass was incredibly green. Now it's like we're still in, like a February. It's either raining or freezing. You can't even go golfing.
In Canada, they're up there playing golf with short pants on, right? Is that what you're saying?
A little bit, yeah. Like Grand Forks used to be, I thought that was like a prison sentence. I was there 4 years, and now they actually have weather that's sometimes warmer than what we're having in Pittsburgh. So I just don't get it. It's like instead of coming down where it belongs, it's coming over here. It's coming more east.
Well, listen, Kenny, we're doing something new by popular demand. We've been asked to do this for a while, and we're actually going to do it. So you can actually be a sponsor of an episode of Control Talk now. And what we're going to basically do is we're going to start out with all of our platinum sponsors from the Controltrends Awards because they've been sponsors, so they get some freebies here. So our first sponsor for Control Talk now, the Smart Buildings HVAC and Smart Buildings video cast and podcast, is none other than Platinum Plus sponsor KMC Controls. So again, thanks to Richard Newberry and the team at KMC Controls. They make great products. The Commander, Stromquist, is a proud distributor of KMC, and we appreciate your support. So there are sponsors this week, Kenny.
Yeah, just to review, the KMC Commander is an open, secure, and scalable IoT platform that businesses can use to optimize processes and increase their efficiencies. Using the Dell Edge Gateway 3000, you can connect to building systems, devices easily and securely. And the devices are quickly discovered, profile tagged for easy data collection. So yeah, KMC is a very, very well-recognized company in the HVAC world, and they do a great job. Did a lot of private labeling back in the day for the pneumatics, and everybody knows, everybody has something of KMC in their building. They really came out with their first 5-year warranty that really impressed us.
And they have a great distribution network, so you'll have a local KMC distributor or a contractor integrator. So I encourage you to reach out and check them out. And again, thank you to KMC Controls. And with that, Kenny Smyers, we got quite a show this week.
We sure do, Eric. As you know, the times are changing. Technologies, we use the avalanche word. We use all these words to just say it's a massive disruptive chaos, but really sometimes it isn't. But the important role of the two-step distributor, that's what the Canadians say. I was talking to someone from Canada there. Distributor is that, in the midst of this maelstrom of change and disruption and technology and OT and OT, whatever, who's the guy you go to or the girl you go to? Where's that voice of reason, the voice that can filter a lot of these things out and make you more aware of technologies you're not aware of, but also help you come to arrive at a decision that's best for your scalable situation?
Right. And we're going to give you one of those voices right now. Obviously, Kenny and I are those voices as well. Stromquist.com in Atlanta, and Kenny is with Jackson Controls. But Kenny, how about introducing this particular voice who is, in my opinion, very profound and speaks a little bit louder than most of them?
I'd love to, Eric. We have the one and only CEO of Jackson Control, Roger Rebenak, and plus one, his son, Ross, is joining us today on Control Talk Now 362. Welcome to the show, Roger. Welcome, Ross.
Welcome, guys.
Thanks you, Eric. Thank you, Ken. It's a beautiful sunny Saturday morning here in May, Indianapolis, Indiana, and real excited to be on the show today.
Well, Raj, when you get on the show, it reminds me, I think it was a Neil Diamond song. I think Joni Mitchell sang it too. I've looked at love from both sides now, from give and take. And, for our audience who might not know, and if you don't know this guy, then it might be your first time listening to the show. Raj started as a contractor. Then he went on to work for Honeywell for many, many years and just did fantastic jobs with Honeywell. And then, was it 2 years ago, Rod, you became the CEO of Jackson Controls?
Just over 3 now.
Just over 3 years with Jackson Controls. And listen, I guess the first question I have is how has your view of distributors changed now that you're actually running a distributorship?
Well, thanks again, Kenny and Eric. And, it's a great question because I spent a good part of my career working for a manufacturer, and I think a lot of manufacturers, we really look at distributors through somewhat of a, opaque lens. We understand them, we interact with them, we really don't know what it's like in the battlefield every day. And I can tell you a couple of lessons I've learned on the distribution side. Started as a contractor, spent many years on the manufacturing side, and then even on the software side from the manufacturing. And, distributors are the guys in the middle of the battle. So we are back in the, providing the artillery, providing the air cover, providing the sea and land by air. There's a lot of, with the changing technologies coming so fast and so many new things like COVID now has caused so many other new technologies to enter our space. We've seen for years as a distributor and as an integrator, the ever-changing technologies, the model moving from, my counter is full every day to more and more drop ship, more and more value-add services. I really believe, and you and I talked about this, Eric, it had to be 7-8 years ago. I still remember one of our first podcasts, and you said, Raj, where do you see distributors in 20 years? Do you remember asking me that?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it really got me thinking. I was a manufacturer then. And what I thought then is much different than what I am experiencing today. So I would say this, it's going to be about making buildings more safer and more healthier, as well as more efficient and more, more energy management. So it's always been comfort or energy management. It's always been secure and safe. But now there's a whole new dynamic, and we got to make the buildings healthy. So as a distributor, it's part of our goal, I believe, to be that vault or that library of resources between manufacturers, and manufacturers are finding out more and more. I really believe several years ago, there was a lot of talk about, I don't know if we need distributors. And I think they're all starting to realize that, the mindset was, distributors just deal with contractors who really don't do very big jobs. They're not sophisticated. They're thermostats and rooftops. And it's everything but that. I mean, we have proven now over the last 15 years that more and more technology can be, and more building problems can be solved through the two-step distribution model. Distributors are a key component in the path of success. And our partners that are integrators that are out there now are doing very large, sophisticated projects. They're not just doing temperature controls. Big saying we had about 8 years ago, it's not temperature controls anymore. Well, boy, that was the launching pad or the springboard for where we're at today. If you look across the building ecosystem, I mean, not just safety and security. Now it's even, it's active shooter detection. And now we're looking at, hey, how are we going to make the air and ventilation even more clean, more air changes?
Well, hang on there, young Roger, because you are saying a whole lot, and I want to unpack this a little bit, okay? And I want to create a frame to sort of put things in perspective, because back when you got in the business and I got in the business and Kenny got in the business, it was about having product on the shelf, and the products weren't that sophisticated. But the main thing you had back then was you had access. And what I mean by that, guys, is the fact that maintenance departments were bloated. I mean, you had, people, and if you were a salesman and you showed up, I could walk into any hospital I wanted to, any school board, walk right in with a box of donuts, and people would sit down and they would talk to me. Well, all that has changed. So one key point that distributors provide a value for manufacturers is this: we have access. We have the local relationships, right? Because you cannot walk into a hospital anymore with a box of donuts, and people, the staffs have been truncated down so that, you got one or two guys doing what 10 or 15 people did before. So they don't have time to talk to you unless they have a problem. So the one thing that distributors provide in the marketplace, one of the functions we perform, is we have local relationships, which means we have access. Now, how do we keep access, guys? We keep access because we become the trusted advisor. We know these folks. Right. And again, when we first got started, Raj and Kenny, it was like, you had one product line, and you were the Honeywell guy or you were the Johnson guy, and that was it.
You learned it, did it every day. Yep.
And you lived it every day. But now the owners have become more sophisticated. And, if you're not offering the best solution, if you're not well versed in everything in the marketplace, okay, then you lose that ability to have access and become the trusted advisor. So part of being the trusted advisor is keeping up with the technology. Because I can tell you guys, and you guys know this, and anybody that's in this industry knows that that's a full-time job, because there's so many new products coming out, and we sort of sift through it, right?
Right.
And what we trade on is, if somebody's got a better solution, and if we don't bring that to our customers that count on us to be a trusted advisor, then we lose that access. So that's one of the fundamental changes, is that you can no longer just say, you're the X guy, pick your brand, and that's the only thing you're going to sell. You have to have multiple brands to be a distributor.
Yeah.
Agree or disagree?
I agree 100%. It's more about technology converging. It's really converging cultures. And we talk about communities, right? And what I really just got through telling a very large manufacturer, one of the largest, I said, look, here's one of the values that we provide for you. And that is, I know where every crane is. I know where every general contractor in this town. My kids and my contractors' kids literally live in the neighborhoods where the consulting engineers or the facility manager for the school lives. So it's that, you said access, but it's really is. I know the consulting engineers. I know the general construction, who the electrical contractors are. I even go as far to say, I know who the winners are, and I know who the losers are, right? That's a big thing. Who's paying their bills? I know who pays and who don't pay, right? I know who's winning and who's leading, and who's changing the game, and then I know who to develop, right? And for me, I've always, honored myself by developing the market, creating demand, and joining that community together. And like you say, it's access. We live and breathe in the same community, and the manufacturers, they need that pulse in every local market. Indianapolis, Chicago is much different than Atlanta. Atlanta is much different than Pittsburgh. We all have commonalities, but we all have different cultures, right? So I really think if you marry technology, community, and access together, we become that. You used to go to the library to get answers. You always went to that counter guy and say, hey, got this flame relay. I'm not real sure if it's working or not. I remember your counter and Smyer's counter years ago, all those flame relay testers, right? All those test boards out there where guys come in.
R890s, R41.
Say, hey, is this still working? Is this bad? We still do that, but
Well, yeah, and to your point, Raj, I mean, early on, the building automation controls, I mean, we've talked about this on the show before, the evolution was the manufacturers went direct because it was too complicated, but that's all changed. And another thing that's changed, another new reality that I think the whole marketplace is aware of, and I'm just going to name it, is it used to be you would develop a technology and that technology would be around for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years, right?
or even
And so you learned it once and then you got to ride on that. But I'm going to snap my fingers and somebody's come out with a new technology. So it's changing very, very rapidly. And again, to maintain that role of trusted advisor, the distributors are really your choice. I mean, we're like research houses. And then again, we're sort of, again, sorting through and saying, this is the pros and cons of this solution. This is the pros and cons of this solution. And I think the other thing, the distributors, the new distributors, we still have some distributors that are locked into the old model, which is, I've got this product and I got this dirt, and I'm this manufacturer's, and whatever your need is, I'm going to make this solution fit your need. And that's changed. So part of what distributors do now too is we bundle new solutions that and the creative ones. I mean, it's an infinite possibilities there, what we can come up with.
Well, I wanted to say a couple things, interject. I've been capturing some of the things. First word I wrote down was battlefield, and how, there once upon a time was, they made a product and you went out and sold that product, regardless who the customer was. This was the product you're going to use, and this is it. And can you do this? No, can whatever. So we've seen a transition. The way you said something before, Roger, offline, that now the battlefield's turned into actually a field of promise and success. In other words, it's no longer really a battlefield; it's an opportunity field. It talks about the you've always been a disciple of the integration. You were always a security first type of player too. It was always, when you went to the building and you talked about the energy savings, and you talked about energy efficiency, and you talked about lighting and whatever, all these integration subsystems. I always thought that you were one of the first people in the industry to go security first. So anyhow, I think what we're seeing too is like the evolution of a distributor and the progression of a distributor. It used to be along a linear progression. We used to learn this, and we got a little smarter, learned this, and then the computers came on board, and we learned this. But now I think that whole linear progression thing has changed. It's like uncharted progression. I don't even really know what the word is. It's like a non-linear progression, because where you were moving here, all of a sudden, Eric uses the term procession, where you were coming, straight down the field at 12 o'clock, and all of a sudden you hit into this IoT, innovation, and you deflected to the 2 o'clock position. Now you're going a mile a minute in a different direction. So it's an interesting thing, but our industry has evolved. I think Eric was a leader and always interested in what was coming next. You always were like that. And I think I caught on to that too. And look where we're at now. We're on a Zoom call, in the middle of a COVID crisis, a pandemic where things are shut down. And yet we still know that we're playing an integral role in the future. So whatever is going to happen, we have a role there. And it's, despite the fact it's grim, it's an opportunity.
Yeah, I've always, I've been on all three sides. To your point there, Eric, in the beginning about looked at the business from all three sides, as a contractor, as a manufacturer, and now a distributor. And I can tell you from my perspective, the contractors, the integrators, the guys out there on the front line, they have the toughest job. They have the toughest job, and when their time is critical, and the value that we can help serve for them is, like you say, hey, I come in, I need this part. Now they're in a building and they see all this new stuff, and they're working with these self-performers who, I've said it before. Most of my early days, they'd say, Raj, I'm not sure what I want. You're the expert. Tell me what I want. Now it's much different. They typically go and go, look, we've been doing some research. We want to connect our access control to our building automation platform. We want to do this. We want to do that. Those integrators and local contractors need our access to those manufacturers. Manufacturers cannot keep up with the demand. We're in a very good industry at a very good time with a very bright future. And I look at it, Garrett, almost like a technology construction management role. And what we're really helping integrators and consulting engineers and even manufacturers is, asset management. Going into buildings, if you look at all these products that we can provide and solutions and services to the owner, to the finance people, these are assets. And everyone knows managing assets in a building, you need to know, is it sustainable? What's your long-term cost? What's your risk? How long is it going to, be there and provide the service I expect? So we're providing this asset management role as a trusted advisor and helping managing that technology through the construction process. And I think one of the things that more and more, Kenny, I've always been an integrator. So when I started at Honeywell in 1986, I never knew any other way. We were doing HVAC and fire alarm and security all on one platform then, before the internet. If you look at, Johnson, if you look at Siemens, if you look at Powers, it wasn't like a different thing in the branch environment. It was always, we can do it all, right? And that was a lot. And we went from having 25 trucks of pipe fitters down to using the local pipe fitters that now have control divisions and coming to us for the total solution. It's really about total building technology, right?
Sure.
So yeah, I'm a big fan. I've never thought it to be different. I've never thought that fire or security or video should be different from my building management system. And that's why our tagline here at Jackson Control is facilities management technology. And Jackson Control is going to lead the way going forward. And we are dedicated, committed, and on a path to be the leader in total building technologies and really just holistically partnering with all the people in our community with our access to tell them the next big way, to advise them of what the best purchasing decision might be based on their needs. So it's an awful fun time to be in this industry, even though it's COVID. It's just a tremendous. We've been doing the town halls, Kenny, as you know, and the community has spoken, and we're talking about UV lights, IAQ, air changes, pressure, humidity, all the things we've always talked about. But now we've got an audience. Now it's they're listening, and boy, it's a great opportunity for us to help make buildings healthier. I'm going to be on this kick now for the rest of the year about healthy buildings, and boy, does that encompass a lot. So really excited.
Well, Raj, let's talk a little bit more about Jackson Controls, because since you've gotten there have been a lot of changes going on. You've added some great people. Here, a couple knuckleheads in Pittsburgh, and then Dan Preston, I think, is with you guys. So talk about some of the things.
Well, I appreciate that, Eric. Obviously, Greg Erickson, chairman of Jackson Controls, has owned the company for 48 years. So he's not new to the industry. He's not new to Jackson, but he's new to a lot of folks. And I think in my last 3 years at Jackson, everyone has woke up to see that we all want to be a player. We want to be a provider. We want to be that trusted advisor. So we started in Indianapolis, and over the last 3 years, we've grown to 5 locations and working on 6. So we are happy to say DMS Controls out of Pittsburgh and West Virginia are now part of Jackson Control. We're also our biggest and newest and most exciting announcement. Another, I like to call them Hall of Famers. You know me. I don't know the next generation like our square here. We got to get them in, and we got to, the Hall of Famers have got to get them out on the opportunity field, right? Not the battlefield, but Dan Preston, anyone in the industry, coast to coast in Johnson Controls, 2-step distribution, knows Dan. Dan, what a player. I mean, talks a little funny, He
was a Patriots fan, so but don't hold that against him. Dan's one of the greats.
I keep trying to get him to learn how to pronounce the word car.
But rumor has it he wants to move to Tampa Bay for you. Is that true?
Well, if anybody goes to Tampa Bay, it's going to be the CEO of Jackson Control. Let me just go on record right now. Nice. That will send that one out to Greg Erickson. If anybody goes to Tampa, it's going to be me.
Gotcha.
But Dan, you guys know Dan probably longer than me. What a sharp cookie. What a guy. I met him 3 years ago, and he treated me well from day one. He gave me the respect that I think I've earned as a Hall of Famer in our community. And Dan is already making a difference at Jackson Control. He's based out of Boston. He's going to be our East Coast market leader, and look for more to come in that arena. But anytime you can pick up a Tom Brady and add him to the team that Peyton Manning's on, you got something going now. You guys want to guess who Peyton Manning is?
R2, your son's Peyton, right?
Yeah.
I thought, you're not like Andrew Luck, are you?
Oh
There you
no,
go.
oh no! I was watching Jeopardy the other night. One of the questions, remember that, Ross? Was the Indianapolis Colts in the first round had picked Peyton Manning?
Oh,
Who
yeah.
was the other quarterback that the Colts didn't pick? You guys remember?
Oh,
It was a big,
they picked Jeff
it
George.
was a big controversy because everybody thought this other guy, left-handed,
Drew Brees.
Ryan Leaf.
Ryan Leaf. Okay, that was a
Ryan Leaf.
good no
And I
pick.
remember thinking, because Ryan Leaf had the stats, right? He
Yeah.
was supposed to go number one, but Peyton just had something special. He had the
Yeah.
special sauce. He had the special look. I always used to say that guy should run for president of the United States, right? So now you got me, Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
You got Dan, Tom Brady. You
You
got
got Kenny. Kenny is
Bradshaw, Terry Bradshaw, and we got Greg, who is up in Chicago. So we got Ernie Banks. I don't know. We got to get Greg. No,
Man.
Butkus. Greg will get Butkus. That's a real thing.
there. You go.
Well, anyway,
Jim
no,
McMahon.
no kidding. We got a new office open in Chicago. Stephen Heckler is running our distribution, Great Lakes region up there. Tommy Heitzberger's running our Michiana out of South Bend on the campus of Notre Dame. We're looking for a lot of exciting things to happen there. Obviously we got our offices in our compound over in Pittsburgh for West Virginia, and that's just, I tell Greg, picking up Kenny and Dave is probably the most exciting thing that's happened to me since I've been in this job. I needed some help. I needed some people. Take this as a compliment, please. Some people like me that kind of understand what's going on. And, I think Kenny, you can almost see this future. It's just getting ready to pop for us. And we're so blessed to have all of our partners, contractors, manufacturers. We picked up a few lines. And obviously, I'm going to do some things that no one else has done, which we're going to talk about today. BluePoint. We've talked about active shooter and shooter detection. We've talked about the building ecosystem and how all these products really need to interact as one. It's really more of an interactive solution. I think that most of our clients are going to be looking for.
Yeah.
A lot of that's based on licensing and user interfaces, but
Well, Roger, let's get a little granular here because, again, I think, we established up front that one of the advantages, if you're an end user, a consulting engineer, or an integrator, and not all distributors are built this way because some of them still just sit behind the counter and just, have the one product or two products. When you get somebody innovative like Jackson Control, Raj, let's talk about some of the solutions you've bundled together, and let's get granular. Show us a couple of products here, if you would. Tell us about a couple.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to share my screen here a little bit, put on my eyeballs, and while I'm doing that, let me see if I can multitask.
Why he's doing that, Kenny? He looks an awful lot like Clark Kent, doesn't he? What do you think, R2? Does he look like Clark Kent to you?
Yeah.
If he's Clark Kent, then I don't
Mom's
know.
Lois
You're
Lane.
Lois Lane, right?
No, that would.
There
I
you
knew
go.
you were going there, Eric. Okay, so can you guys see my screen okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so this is, it needs to be a little, I'm just going to blow it up a little bit. So we built this here at Jackson Control a few weeks ago, and it's a representation of our story. It's a representation of the total building technology system. So we're going to start out here top left with the internet, because if you do not have remote connectivity to anything today, whether it's a Zoom meeting or your Wi-Fi or your music or your movies, we live in a connected world. There's absolutely no doubt that the connectivity is going to lead the future. The power of connected is real. So I always start today much different than I did 20 years ago, and I'm thinking about connectivity and being safe. So we go right from the internet into a Toasty box. So we show that Toasty box, and we're having a lot of success with Toasty box right now, and their new soft lock and all that, the new cellular connection, the Lock 500. What a great little affordable VPN firewall. So we can standardize and again, overcome that objection where building owners are like, well, how much bandwidth do you need? What kind of, network do you need? You mean I got to call my IT guy? He's so busy, on and on. So we come right from there into the customer's network, or it could be our own network. So this blue line could represent a master systems integrator, his own network that he's providing, his wide area network. As we go forward with these IP controllers and devices, we've got to build an operational technology infrastructure. I'm seeing more and more folks saying, I don't want all these devices on my network. Create your own network. So we're leading at Jackson Control and specializing in helping people learn how to do that. So if you look across the left to right, you've got your Tritium Edge 10 controller with some I/O. So we got a nice Vicon controller over there that you can add additional I/O to and handle those edge applications. And Honeywell's come out with a really innovative product. I'm referring to it as a network device, not even an HVAC controller. It's got a 4-port gigabit switch on board. We're showing here electrical meters, IP cameras, synchronized clocks, air handlers, rooftops, you name it, and build your own infrastructure and protect it cyber from a cyber perspective and make your solution more integrated. Then we just go across plant controllers. And what I'm building here as I go from left to right is really a legacy and an edge cloud application. So you see right here in the middle, we've got our legacy example where we've got a Jace, legacy VAV controller, legacy air handler controller, rooftop controller. What we've been doing for about 15 years now. Now it gets real interesting. Right smack in the middle under this dashboard, we're showing another Niagara product doing access control and intrusion. And I know this is hard to read, so I'm just going to rattle off a few of these applications that build, make up that intelligent building. So we start off with parking access, where the light says, lot is full, spaces are open. Elevator control, door access, glass break and motion for intrusion. Got a fire alarm panel in here, so it's all about time and seconds and minutes and response and safety, where we bring that fire alarm input in and we can do something smart with it to get that message to the building owners and first responders. And then I end with a panic alarm. I cannot tell you how many times we walk a job, we think we've covered everything, and it always happens near the end, where the owner or the engineer or the manufacturer says, hey, what if the receptionist needs to get the police here real quick? What if there's a panic situation? So a small little $100 device can change the game and make the building more healthier and safe. So there's your straight stick security, straight stick HVAC, modern plant control on an IP platform, a network device, and an edge device. Now let's get into integration. So we take all that and we roll it over here to the right. And now what we're going to segue into here. We're going to talk about a lot of things that I really wish we didn't have to, but active shooter detection. You see 3 of those PoE sensors right there. Those are picking up muzzle flash and audio, and there's never been a false alarm by Guardian shooter detection in the last 30 years. This is military technology, rock solid, plugs into a PoE switch, no different than a lot of the other devices we're doing. So it should come very natural to the integrator to be able to add this technology to their job site. And then of course video cameras. Now notice I put another HVAC controller in here, Honeywell Spider. So I'm showing that all on one Jace, all on one controller. Could be anyone's Jace, anyone's controller. Then we move over to the access control and what we're going to highlight today, which is going to be called BluePoint. These blue boxes, I'm going to show you a better picture here in a second. They say police on. Now think of a fire alarm and think about what you've done with a fire alarm since you learned to go to school. And Kenny and I are going to talk about BluePoint alert here in a second. And what we're talking about is rapid emergency response. Right? Now, let's think about that as we go forward. Light bars, Kenny, you saw the last couple town halls, thermal temperature camera screening solution. Sure. Big mouthful there. We've quoted over 50 cameras, Eric, in the last 2 weeks to go in the lobby of a building where it's a thermal camera that puts the temperature of your face over your head as you walk in. So we just talked to a big company up in Michigan yesterday where they've already purchased those, and if your temperature is elevated, the receptionist pulls you to the side where they have a nurse. He said now we lock down all of our other entrances. Everybody's coming in one door, and we've got a guard and we've got a nurse. And if anyone's temperature is elevated, we put them aside, secondary screening. All that plays into this ecosystem.
Roger, and to your point about
ahead.
no, you're just saying that, but remember how important it's going to be with that COVID, our return to normal is we're going to have to be able to document that you did do this, that you did do a screening.
Made every reasonable effort.
Exactly.
So that, God forbid, you'd have to go to court. You can say, look, I partnered with this Niagara integrator or whatever, and we took a total building technology approach, TBT, and we added these technologies to do all we could. Mr. Customer, we locked the doors down, we integrated, we put on our database of access that this guy's been tested or this guy hasn't. We've refined where the people can enter and exit. We've had a nurse standing there. Andy told me he went to ConAgra Foods this week and they took him in a trailer. As he walked in, the camera saw him come in, the green light lit. They said, "You're fine." She took a pair of tweezers and held up a mask and Andy grabbed it as he walked into the facility. So, I mean, this is not going away, I'm afraid. But just this, just to wrap up this riser, this is the way I see buildings.
Hey, Roger, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but go back to the Blue point and about the fire thing. I'm sorry that I interrupted you because you were on a really big topic about, there's never been we haven't had a loss of life in a school since 1958 because of that.
But just a second, I want to pull this BluePoint thing up here. This is, so anyway, Eric, that is what we're calling the total technology riser. I'm trying to find this.
Nice.
Let me bring this over here. And let's just spend a couple of minutes and let's talk about, Kenny, I want you to jump in.
Okay.
Because you've been on this with me, my right hand on this. You saw my riser a minute ago, Eric. And, in Niagara, we've been talking about threat level management since 2011, 2012 when 2.2 came out. And why did we do that? It was because Columbine, Sandy Hook, Virginia Tech, Paducah, Kentucky, all the access control manufacturers said we got to help. We got to do something to help, curtail this active shooter situation. A lockdown, these weather threats. What do you do in a building if you run around and yell there's a tornado coming or a mudslide or an earthquake? No, you've got to have technology to get that messaging out. So today I'm going to introduce you to something called BluePoint. And this is a new line that Jackson Control has picked up. Again, not just about police. And I looked at this over a year ago, and we quoted it to a couple of school corporations. And I really looked at it from a couple of perspectives. Is, what does someone do in a school or university or commercial building today if they need the police or they need an ambulance? And to Kenny's point, we're going to compare it to fire alarm here in a minute. It should show some very powerful results. But I want you to think about when we all started going to school the first time we did a fire drill. And they would pull the fire alarm. And everyone that we know, and we've known our whole life, any building we go in, if we need fire trucks, we just pull the red alarm, right? And everyone knows, get out, fire trucks will be here shortly. And I will tell you this, fire department are the most amazing people ever. When they get that alarm, my wife burnt some stuff a few weeks ago, and they were here in a minute and a half. So the technology we're looking at here now is, again, the same problem that active shooter detection systems solve. It takes minutes to seconds, and it gives you point verification where you need the police. One interesting thing came out of this was school districts and commercial buildings actually call for an ambulance 3 times more than they call for the fire, right? Fire guys come out to do inspections, but they hardly ever there. But man, if you're in a school, there's always, hey, we better, call an ambulance. A kid fell in the swimming pool or whatever it might be. But think it's always been blue. The color in a building for something other than fire is blue. So BluePoint is going to give you a blue strobe in the building. So if you're in that building, you see that blue light go off, you know that the police are on the way. Second deal is it's going to take you right to the point in the building where you need the first responder. So we're talking about a growing workplace violence. You look from Milwaukee to Columbine. employees now, we never grew up worrying if we were safe. We just took it for granted. I'm worried, the employees are worried, are we safe? What about the increased training, the new law, Alice, in the Northeast? You're going to hear more and more about run, hide, fight, and fight. Increased risk over employers. What's our liability? So if you own this place, what's my liability if I don't have some sort of reasonable solution for police and medical? Schools are looking at, obviously, how to make it more safe. They're looking at active shooter, access control, video, and Alyssa's law. Alyssa's law is going to be talked more and more about. What's the purpose? The purpose really is to initiate emergency notification and response. Keyword, rapid response for emergency, police and medical. So how do we automate that? We know that history's taught us when we automate something, it's usually faster, it can be tracked, and it's more effective than calling 911 and trying to remember your address. So it can dramatically increase situational awareness and save lives. A brief history on this is it's been specifically designed around safety in a building. Much like fire alarms, Kenny, you brought it up earlier. We've had one fatality in a fire since 1958 in the school. Ever since then, fire alarms been mandated, right? And we do fire drills every month in a school all across America. 92 students and three faculty members. Schools across America has been putting in measures for smoke detection, fire detection, notification appliances since day one. So we're going to take the same approach now that we took with fire because it worked. And we're going to say, okay, BluePoint Alert does the same thing. It alerts law enforcement and emergency medical just like a fire does, right? And it's immediate, it's effective, and it goes straight to the first responders. So you take the person that might be in a panic situation out of the equation. We've got plenty of studies and facts from the experts that show in an emergency, the first person that calls 911 often feels interrogated. The 911 dispatcher has no idea what's really going on, and they ask, what's your emergency? Oh, we need a police officer. What's your address? You'd be shocked to know how many people don't even know the address. And they spend time on the phone trying to figure out what's your emergency, where are you at, what's your name. They're getting all this information. Well, seconds are going away, whether it's a shooter or whether you've got a kid that's fell in the swimming pool. So what the BluePoint solution does is give everyone the opportunity to immediately activate an alert, a rapid emergency response system. I need an ambulance, I need a police officer, I need him in the cafeteria, I need him in the east wing of the elementary school. And these police officers are going to be notified. And I think this is very unique, what BluePoint has done here. We've been doing a lot of things like this, kind of build it, like we do in our industry. We're innovators, and we build these systems up, and maybe we use an emergency button that was really built for something else, or a panic button that has a red call number label on it. But how can we improve upon that? How can it be more intuitive and more like fire alarm has taught us through the years? So we get through really three simple dynamics, which is initiate, communicate, and empower. Empower situational awareness, usable panic buttons. You might see down below the medical, you see the wireless panic. So what I'm talking about here today is a wireless 900 megahertz solution where these medical and police stations are wireless. You'll need much more of these than you will a fire pole at a door. The code is for fire poles is you only have to have them by exit, right? So because they want you going out and letting the fire department know. But when you're inside these big buildings and the police show up or the ambulance shows up, we've all seen it. They spend half their time trying to figure out where they're supposed to go, right? So if you have this medical pole station on the 8th floor in the break room, they're going to know instantly. And if you look at the third box there on the right, everything is by text message. So this will be text to you and text to your command control center. So it can go to your control center and you can set up, if you will, alert groups. So the group for the high school, or the group for the third floor, or the group for the manufacturing plant, or whatever it might be. So those messages go immediately to the right people, to the closest people. And then if you see it, instantly pops up the floor plan.
Hey, Roger.
Yeah.
I just wanted to, again, this is so cool. And I think, just to go back and visit it, because we saw, the fire, the tragedies that occurred, and then we saw the recent listing of all the tragedies that have occurred, across our country. And we've got to take this intelligent approach. So if you put BluePoint in, the benefits are the all-in-one. There's no latency, and the precision of location is communicated through artificial intelligence, let's just say, instead of verbal. People that are panicked and they, like you say, they can't remember the address of the school. They'll just say, I'm at the school building. What school building? Which one is it? The junior high, high school. So that's a really serious issue. That's time. There's critical moments that are elapsing. But one of the most incredible things that we know this can do is not only do you get that immediate notification for leadership, where the danger point is, the police, EMS, the location, communicate the location as it proceeds, but you have the ability to integrate that into the threat level management, which now takes it to the next level.
So that's where I want to get the instant text message. BluePoint told us, they said, we looked at all the ways to communicate. So these messages, once you pull one of these, are going to go through a digital alarm communicator to a central station that Jackson Control maintains. So there's a reoccurring revenue stream for each integrator. And obviously, this type of system, like shooter detection, like fire alarm, there was never an option when I sold these for inspections or maintenance. You never, I've noticed a lot of guys, we try our darndest to get people to say, look, I'm going to put this new temperature control system in, but you really ought to sign up for this service contract so I can keep this thing running at, top speed and top performance. But the reality is about more than 50% of the jobs put in, we never get a maintenance contract on for temperature control. It takes years before things start breaking, then they look at their costs. It's quite the opposite mindset in security, fire, and safety. Everyone, it's almost like buying a Cisco switch. Never been one sold ever that didn't get a software maintenance agreement. Same thing with emergency response systems and shooter systems. You don't get the option to say, I'll just hope that it works when I need it. So quarterly inspections, annual inspections, testing. But this will go into emergency 24, United States monitoring system sponsored by Jackson Control. It's not a big cost either. I mean, this is very, very minimal monthly fee to make sure these text messages and these floor plans pop up on the first responder's phone. And then Kenny, you're bringing it right to the next deal is, what do we do as building integrators? I've always thought this says it best. We make other systems better. We enhance the user experience. So yes, I could put this in standalone. Wireless pull stations, digital alarm communicator, immediate response to police and medical, and then visual point ID. So if you're looking at the screen now, you can see from my phone, I can push the button for the camera, and the camera can be integrated so that I not only, have a floor plan, I see maybe, God forbid, they are given CPR, or kids are in a fight, or whatever's going on. But, this happens more than fire alarm. This is our world now. It's safety, it's medical, it's where are you, and how these first responders already have the toughest job in the world. I take a lot of pride in making their job easier, giving them more data. The data is just not for energy trends. It's also about people, places, spaces, and safety. So how do we take this and integrate it to, say, the Niagara? How do I use threat level management, to Kenny's point, to turn on all the red lights, lock all the doors, disable all the door cards that are coming in? If it's a shooter detection device, I can trigger through Niagara the red light bars, disable the cards, spin the cameras to the right presets, and also if it's a medical, or we really just enhance that overall integration. And I've always said in security, one of the old guys taught me is you always want to back up, always say what if. So what if the text message didn't get properly delivered? Let's have a backup plan. Let's use Niagara to send an email. Let's use Niagara to pop up a floor plan as well. There's a lot of possibilities here to enhance BluePoint through our facility management technology system. So that's just a little bit about BluePoint. We plan at Jackson Control to do more and more about this. Can you make a note? In the coming months or so, we're going to invite a 911 dispatcher to one of our webinars. And we're going to ask them, what are some of the typical things you hear on the other end of the phone when they need a policeman or they need an ambulance? Right? We don't need to worry about fire alarm. We're doing pretty doggone good in this country with fire alarm, but it's all through behavior training. We all know red's fire. From the time you're in kindergarten to the time you go to a ball game, that red means fire. And the fire department is pretty rock solid. We need a lot of room here to improve safety in the building, medical dispatch, strobes. You can integrate this to your PA system. If you're in a stadium, if someone pulls a police because there's let's say a shooter, you can integrate it to your PA and the message can come out. So this is all integration at the top end. To me right now, nothing's more important than people. People are the most important asset we have. And our systems don't just protect rooftops and buildings, they also protect people. We have an amazing story to share with all of our clients about bring all this into one. Instead of having one of everything, have everything on one. Here's that wireless pendant, Eric. It shows if you're moving around the building and you need a police officer or an ambulance, you've got the wireless pendant that you can also
very cool
from Jackson Control and BluePoint. So we're real proud to be the national Niagara partner for BluePoint, for medical and for police notification. And we're going to be doing more and more town halls at Jackson Control. We're going to be trying to do what you said in the beginning, Eric. We have access, and we're going to educate, and we're going to research, and we're going to help learn and make our community better.
So Raj, I know a lot of my customers in Georgia and Florida are going to be interested in this. And again, it sounds like that they can come through us, we come to you, and we just sort of facilitate it that way. Is that
absolutely
how you're looking at? Cool.
Absolutely.
So again, if you have a local distributor you're working with, just go to them. And they don't know how to get hold of Raj. You need another distributor, but they can get hold of Roger, and then we can facilitate it that way.
Absolutely.
Eric and Roger, I just want to throw one thing in there. Can you go back on one slide there, Roger, with the deployment? The reason why I bring it up is I'm from Pittsburgh, and we had probably the deadliest shooting in the Jewish community, the Tree of Life in Pittsburgh, and my dentist was actually one of the victims, Richard Godfrey. And so this has a special impact to me because the Tree of Life Synagogue has used the BluePoint now. That is that's one of the places that they installed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I wanted to let you know how solid the world, what's that, what 7 calls or whatever the thing is where somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody, and you're right in the middle of the epicenter stuff. So that happened here, and I just wish we had that technology available, because that may have saved lives. It would have saved lives.
Yeah, it sure would. My screen's locked up for some reason. I don't know what's going on.
But I don't want to be grim on that.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, Kenny, he talked about the Jewish Community Center there, or synagogue. So we all know those horrible stories that happen, and that just makes me feel, I just feel like I'm doing something bigger than just, when we get into this stuff.
Well, Raj,
it's a natural fit. That's what I really try to emphasize. It's such a natural fit to our ecosystem.
Right. Raj, this is really, really wonderful. We're going to have to sort of begin to wrap this up a little bit here. So, but it looks like you got some example pricing up. You want to go through that?
Yeah, my screen locked up there. Now I can tell you, here's a good starter. an average elementary school, we're seeing about $40,000 install.
Not bad.
So
For what it does, that's a heck of a
what it
bargain.
does, and then you're looking at, you know, more than probably $2,500 a year for the monitoring.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, it's really, how do you put a price tag on something like this? Really,
No, you can't.
I saw it, you know, and I'm, you know, you guys know, I take my job very serious. I'm very passionate about it. I like to joke around, but when it gets to these things, I've spent my whole life in building security, building safety, building fire. And when I look at the world now, I'm 61 years old. I never could have imagined, you know, COVID and shooters and all these things happening. And I remember when I first got into it in the early 80s, telling my dad, you know, I feel like if I stop one hold up alarm at a bank, or I save one person with a smoke detector, you know, Dad, I'm in a really good industry here. And I feel good when I go home. And I think everyone that takes the opportunity to just extend the framework, bolt on the access control and video, you're going to see. I mean, someone said yesterday, Kenny, who was it on the town hall? They said, all you got to do is ask. All you got to do is ask. These building owners are looking for someone
I
to
think it
help
was a
solve these
gentleman,
problems.
one of the vendors that was on the show said, you know, I believe it's RLE Technologies.
Oh yeah, it was Mike, wasn't it?
Yep.
But anyway, that's I'm gonna stop sharing, Eric, if you want there. But
Yeah,
just
Raj.
Ross, you know, I want to give Ross a chance because Ross has been kind of studying BluePoint for me, and he's new to the industry, he's listened to me for most of his life. But Ross, what kind of comments when you first saw BluePoint, and you know, you live in Los Angeles and Hollywood? What are some of the things you said? Some really good comments to me after that webinar. I'm just interested if you can share that with us.
Well, I guess to piggyback off what you guys have been talking about, you know, I heard Eric say earlier that the industry for the longest time, you could learn one thing and you would know that one thing for 5-10 years, and you wouldn't have to learn new things. But nowadays, with the way technology and integration works, not to mention the heightened security due to school shootings and things of that terrible nature, you need to be malleable. You need to be able to change what you're doing and adapt and continue the integration and the efficiency of getting from a point A to a point B. And I think BluePoint is one of those products that businesses, schools, all of the commercial buildings are going to be looking to use, because what it does in a world that is so technology driven, it gives you another opportunity to make the process within a building's security go twice as efficient, twice as quickly, and potentially save lives. So that is something that I think any business can get behind.
Well said. Well said, Ross. Listen, I don't think your dad's paying you enough. Would you like to come to work for Stromquist and Company?
Yeah, I'll send you my email.
All right. So not every day, Kenny, you get to have Ryan Gosling work for you.
I know there's this resemblance there. I was going to say it too, but I thought you guys would think I was goofy.
You
But
know,
listen, the crazy thing that is becoming more apparent is that, you know, the distributors and being that eyes and ears of the IoT avalanche that's coming down from all directions outside of our industry. It used to be traditional, you know, it came from 30,000 feet through one of the vendors, in the elevator land locally, and everybody got off, and that technology became yours. Now it's coming in from, you know, it's the internet, and you don't know who's doing what, where. But I think this is a good example of the new way a distributor, in order to survive, must have a dedicated effort every day, every week, to find out what's going on and how that can improve the product sets and solutions that you offer.
Yeah, I think anybody can sell products, but selling solutions and putting
Well said,
putting
yeah.
packages together is what differentiates the men from the boys, the Rebonecks from
for
everybody
being a
else.
business partner. And
Yeah. Well, Raj, listen, how do people get hold of you guys?
you can reach us at jacksoncontrol.com. JacksonControl.com. There's no S in the word control. It's JacksonControl.com.
Very good. Now, listen, before we get off a little bit of a sore subject here, and our community really wants to know this because, you know, Ross, you know, our community knows Raj as being the best singer in the Rebonek family, but what we'd like to just what I need to point out is it true? Because rumor has it that you really got the pipes in the family. You're the one who sings better. So, and I think we just let our audience be the judge of that. Maybe we have you guys do a little duet going out. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. He ain't heavy, he's my daddy, or something like that.
Let's see. Let's pick one, Ross. What can we do?
Oh man, wrong. I'm not sure on the two that you just mentioned as far as lyrics go.
Let's see. How about time? Why you punish me?
I thought you can do Time Is On My Side.
No, that was I'm going Hootie and the Blowfish. Let's don't use that one, Eric.
Ross, did you see your dad open up the Controltrends Awards this year?
Oh man, I saw it. Yeah, I saw
Rock
it.
and Roger.
Are you ready for some control?
That was a hell of it. That was, I'll tell you, that was the highlight of the night. I mean, that got things going. They got to be.
It was a lot of fun.
We had a couple when I was out in LA. We had a couple of phone calls where we did a couple of run-throughs. We had to, just like iron out some, because changing those words and adding syllables, we had to iron out the
I
rhythm.
see.
Well, listen, for our audience that didn't get to go to the Controltrends Awards, hadn't seen the video, how about you guys just still exit with a little bit of that for us, since you guys both seem to know that one.
Are you ready for some football? Hey, but Eric, you could definitely run the footage.
Now, I want to hear Ross sing, because I've actually heard Ross sing, and I'm wondering if Roger's going to let him sing
He's not shy when
something.
it comes to this. Listen to this. Do one of your songs.
I gotta think of a good track for you guys.
What did you sing at that Christmas thing in front of the lights? In front
was
of
amazing.
50,000 people.
Oh, that was Josh Groban.
Yeah, Josh Groban.
Yeah. It's a Circle of Lights, but let's just do an old standard like.
Let's do a Rolling Stone song or something like that. Something that our older audience like me would appreciate. Or Beatles.
Beatles.
Let It Be.
When I find myself in time, trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be. And in my hour of darkness, she is standing right in front of me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Let it be, let it be, yeah, let it be.
So my question for you, ladies and gentlemen, as you listen to this, can your distributor do this? If you buy from Jackson Controls and looking for an act for your Christmas party, this is just another value add they add. Guys, that is amazing. Really, really
Well
nice,
done,
fellas.
yeah. Cool. Very nice.
All right, there you go. Roger and Ross Rebenack from Jackson Controls, R Squared. Man, keep on doing what you guys are doing, man. Great stuff. And thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thanks again, Eric. Thanks, Kenny.
Well, Kenny, man, listen, I'm thrilled for you and your brother, David. I mean, Raj has always been one of those great innovative thinkers. And, man, I tell you what, it's a little bit, I think he was working for a manufacturer. He's like this great painter, this great artist that only had one color to paint with. And now he's got the entire paint set up.
Right. Well, I met Roger, I don't even know how many years ago it was, but I came out of the security world. I came from Germany. I was a director of operations of Pond Security Services in Germany. Our primary customer was Uncle Sam, and we had contracts from Bremerhaven to Munich and all points in between. But I came out of that industry and came back to the family business, which was wholesaling distributors, the W.C. Smyers Company. And I was shocked that the security was treated. It was so dislocated from all the other, things involving a business, because in Europe, there was a lot of, I don't want to say integration like it is now, but they never, security was about premium and it was always part of the conversation. In the United States, I always thought it was kind of like it was a afterthought, or it was the first thing off the budget when they needed this, that, or the other. If we needed new seats in the auditorium, or we needed to put in security cameras, so we put the seats in the auditorium, something like that. I always felt that kind of the back burner. And then we're seeing all these things that are dynamically causing security to come in at the right time, especially with COVID-19, how the access control now is your base, your first level, your first barrier that can protect everybody in the building from everything from a threat, menacing threat to COVID-19 even. So
yeah. Well, I think it's just a great opportunity. And again, it's like everything else in life. I mean, there's a Chinese saying, with great chaos comes great opportunity. And Roger seems to have really embraced that. And I think for our distributor brothers and sisters out there, I mean, you're going to have to reinvent yourself. You're going to have to keep up. Same thing with the integrators. If you're doing business as usual, well, usual might not be there, but these, Raj, hopefully opened your eyes today with some great opportunities, and man, can't tell you how much appreciate those guys coming on. So with that, Kenny Smyers, we got to get on with it today. So a special thanks to our guests, Roger and Ross Rebenak from Jackson Controls. And a special thanks to our sponsor this week, KMC Controls. And with that, Kenny Smyers, let's say, be bold, stay in control, wash your hands, and
wear your scarf.
Have somebody trust you this week.
Indeed, Eric.
Indeed, Kenny Smyers.
All right.
And that's a wrap.
Well, it's Sunday night and it's a Super Bowl. Controltrends Awards and it's a really big show. The CTA finalists are here, we know. So let's kick off the ball and get ready to go. We gotta get ready, make everything right. Controltrends Awards are right here tonight. Do you want to drink? Do you want to party? Hey, this is Rockin' Ramblin' Rides, ready to get this thing started. We got Ken, Mark, and Eric to turn up the lights. All my control friends are here tonight.